The housing production plan passed by City Council 2 years ago left intact the so-called SR zones on the east side of Melrose, which only permit the construction of single-family residences. The SR zones almost exactly parallel the green districts created by the Homeowners Loan Corporation on their redlined map of Melrose in 1938, marking them as places where Black people would be rejected for home loans. As mayor, would you direct the Office of Planning and Community Development to work to dismantle the SR zones and bring them into conformity with the UR zoning, which predominates in almost every other residential district of Melrose, and thus bring to an end this decades-long policy of housing segregation on the East Side? And we will start the answers with Ms. Madero Solano.
Thank you. My answer on this is no. Single unit residences are one of the things that make Melrose a great community to live in, and that zoning needs to be preserved. The independence and freedom of owning a single unit residence are also some of the top things that all homeowners, regardless of color, desire and find empowering. Additionally, many of those single unit residences are ranches, which offer one floor living and are vitally important for an aging population who wishes to age in place. Zoning changes are not the only way to root out redlining or housing segregation, both of which are morally wrong and illegal. The single largest impediment to Black home ownership in Melrose is affordability, and all of Melrose, not just the East Side, has pricing that's statistically well beyond the reach of most Black homeowners because of their lack of assets, net worth, and generational wealth, as reported by the Boston Globe. To address these issues effectively, and as I previously discussed, we need to explore ways to create more affordable housing units in Melrose. And one way to do so is creating affordable deed restriction program in exchange for property tax relief. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Grigoritis?
Thank you. As the question highlights, and as I think so many of us have agreed, zoning impacts who lives in this community. And I've proudly supported zoning changes that have been recommended by the planning board that make Melrose more livable and align our city with who we want to be versus who we were. I think this is something that the planning board would need to look at very carefully, along with a robust community input process and a full understanding of potential impacts. And I would look forward to engaging in this process as mayor.
Ms. Hammer?
Great, thank you. I do really appreciate this question and the thinking around it, and also back to the previous question around discussing this as a community as it reflects our history. Some communities have created more inclusionary zoning overlays, while others are still clinging to these exclusionary zoning practices. And yes, we should think about more inclusionary zoning that we can use to draw in more diversity. But UR won't necessarily solve the problem. It is a part of the puzzle that we have here, being mindful that there's no public transportation nearby, and also that those homes are not necessarily more valuable than the homes on the west side. But we need to push our current zoning to do more for us. In both SR and UR, we can allow for accessory dwelling units, which will have some great relief for multi-generational families, as well as allow for affordable housing in certain areas of parts of lots that are that make sense. Zoning doesn't build housing. We need to commit to do that work, and then we just need to do it. For another forum, I would love to talk about the SRA and that zoning area where we want to maintain some green space, but think about how we can include the community more to make it more accessible and useful for everyone. So thank you.